Now on BBC One, Urban Jungle. Naturalist Mike Dilger goes in search of wildlife in our towns and cities.
In this programme, we'll show you just how close you are to the natural world, even in this, the most urban environment. There are so many natural wonders in our towns and cities. It's just a shame more of us can't take time out of our busy lives to stop and discover what's hiding just out of view. Even here, right in the heart of the city, you might be surprised to find just how easy it is to get back to nature. Later, I'm bat spotting in Hull, and Keely Donovan ventures into a graveyard after dark to catch some winged beauties. I'm starting my exploration from here, Sheffield, the city of steel. I'm less than half a mile from the city centre, so you can't really get more urban than this. This is the River Don, which runs through the city centre, and these minnows are our bait to catch a glimpse of a colourful winged hunter. It's bright blue, orange, at the top of most people's must-see bird list. We're on the hunt for kingfisher, slap bang in the middle of Sheffield. Wildlife spotting takes patience, and this bird can be elusive. I've been staking out this stretch of water for 2 mornings, and so far all we've caught is 2 fleeting glimpses. Here it is flitting over the water. We just need it to stop so we can get a good look. At last, got it. After 7 hours, we've got a kingfisher perched on a snag in front of us. Fantastic views. All we've had is the kingfishers whizzing up and down. He's just flipped round. I can tell, looking at him, the kingfisher we've been seeing is definitely a male. And I know that because if you look at his bill, there's the upper mandible, the top part, and the lower mandible, the bottom part, and the lower mandible is all black. Females have a red base. As brilliant a hunter as the kingfisher might be, it's not at the top of the urban food chain because it's simply another potential meal for the undisputed king of the city skies. And in order to catch up with this fabulous urban predator, I'm going to need the best view the city can provide. Here, 250 feet up, I'm looking down from a Pilgrim Falcon's eye view of Sheffield. It's a long way off. Half a mile away on the ledge of an old church tower is my first view of this magnificent creature. A mating pair has been here for the past 2 years. 3 chicks hatched this year and have just left the nest. These pictures were recorded on a camera which streamed images live on the internet to viewers all over the world. My guide is Jim Lonsdale, who works at Sheffield University. He installed a platform on the church below us to attract the birds. Diving down. And it's not long before we see them in action. One of the adults has just made a kill with the hungry young in hot pursuit. It's got some food in there, and there's 3 peregrines chasing it. Oh, food pass, fantastic! Wildlife spotting doesn't get much better than this. Best views in Sheffield, fastest bird on earth, flying around the city skyline, juveniles chasing the adults with food. Magic. You can see them plucking feathers, can't you? And to the winner, the spoils. Even from a mile away, you can see this falcon tucking into its prey. Peregrines can pick out a meal from a height of 1,000 feet, as their vision is 8 times sharper than the human eye. No birds in Sheffield can be safe.
Somebody once said to me, if it flies, a peregrine will eat it. Mostly feral pigeons, but a little grebe, jay, woodcock, golden plover.
That's an amazing variety of birds when you think about it. They're hunting all of these birds within the kind of city limits of Sheffield. It's astonishing.
Yeah. I never thought for 1 minute that I'd be stood in Broad Lane in my lunch hour watching peregrine falcons. The thing I liked most of all is watching them fly, because they are unbelievable flyers. We got 2 chicks last year and they fledged successfully. And then this year again, 4 again, but only 3 hatched.
So when did they fledge?
About 10 days ago.
And at the moment, they're following their parents, flying around, chasing them.
Yeah, getting more adventurous, I think, and going further afield day by day.
It's not even a case of peregrines having to adapt to this urban environment, as it could have been designed for them. No threats from anxious gamekeepers, and buildings that mimic the cliffs that their rural cousins inhabit. And of course, an endless supply of food. I've come back to the River Don to see some more birds that have adapted to a city landscape. Sun martins usually nest in sandbanks, as their name suggests, but they're equally at home in these old factory drainage pipes. Pollution from Sheffield's heavy industry used to render the River Don uninhabitable for wildlife. Today, big firms pay to keep it clean. A steel mill might be the last place you'd expect to be wildlife friendly. Just down here, I'm looking at a little tiny blue-tailed damselfly. It's a damselfly because its wings rested behind its back, and it's got a little blue tip to its abdomen. And this one right here is a female, and I know that because it's laying eggs under this leaf. And this unlikely wildlife oasis is slap bang in the middle of Forgemasters, one of the biggest foundries in Sheffield.
It's obviously inviting nature into an industrial area, but also it's a really nice place for our employees to come and use on their breaks and lunchtime, because obviously working in the factory areas, it's a nice place to come and escape. We've got sand martins at the moment nesting, dragonflies, butterflies, and we have had otters spotted on site as well.
Otter?
Yes.
On the industrial site here?
Yes, that's right. We see footprints quite regularly. He's quite elusive, but he has been spotted only this weekend.
I'm on the Five Weirs Walk, a 5-mile footpath along the banks of the River Don. It opened 5 years ago, creating a wildlife corridor through Sheffield's industrial heartland. But it only came about by chance here at Sanderson's Weir in the mid-80s.
I was working as a town planner in this area. One lunchtime, myself and a couple of colleagues scrambled down a little gap between the bridge and the factory to have a look at see if we could find the river. And we came across this 16th century weir, and we thought, this is just amazing. Why can't people visit this? And from that we decided to set a trust up, and from that came the Five Weirs Walk.
22 years later, and after millions of pounds were raised, the walk was finally opened in 2008.
It's beyond what we could have dreamed, really. It's been so satisfying and so rewarding to see the river coming back to life. Nature does most of it, but just being able to help it along.
Keeping the Don clean for wildlife is a big job for volunteers working with the River Stewardship Company. The focus is on the fabulous River Don, but this kind of bankside vegetation is a really important habitat as well.
Yeah, it provides a refuge for a lot of wildlife, yeah.
And of course, it was a habitat that was really lost for long periods of time.
Yeah, I mean, most of the section of the Don isn't natural anymore, and the banks have been built up, so the river's been sort of canalised almost. So the native vegetation has been squeezed into such a small area now, whereas before it would have spread for quite a way from the Don.
And we've got a nice assemblage of woodland and aquatic plants in front of us.
Yeah, we've got some nice figwort here, which is quite an unusual plant. We've got red campion, one that the insects really love. Oxeye daisies, which just look beautiful at the minute in the sunshine. So yeah, it's really good for the insects and the invertebrates as a food source and a habitat for them.
A nice assemblage of native plants. You've also got some nasty aliens as well. I can see a few of them down there.
Yeah, and that's one of the jobs that the volunteers are doing down here is helping to eradicate the Himalayan balsam and the Japanese knotweed. The problem is there are no natural predators here for them, so they just go out of control. And if we were just to leave the banks here, all of this bank would be covered in nothing but knotweed or Himalayan balsam.
So what's the plant life like in the river itself? This section of the Don is coated in this plant. It's called water crowfoot, and you can see these beautiful white flowers here. This is the most wonderful sign the river's in a really healthy state, and it will also be chock full of invertebrates, which are food for loads of other riparian or riverine animals. Looking around here, we could be in the Peak District, but if you glance over that wall that way, it's industry. We're right in the heart of the industrial belt. And the health of the Don must also be reflected by what swims in it. Tony Richardson has known the river for more than half a century and remembers when the water ran orange with industrial pollution. Now then, sir, how's it going?
Well, I've caught these in about 20 minutes.
Beautiful, look at that. Fabulous grayling. Lovely, that beautiful long dorsal fin. They're such gorgeous fish, aren't they, Tony?
Beautiful fish. Grayling, they're just like fresh, the freshest of fresh water, and they'll not live in any sort of pollution. We used to spend a lot of money going out to either Lincolnshire or up North Yorkshire in Swale and Ouse or on the Trent. But now we don't have to because this is just 10 minutes away from where I live, and it's good and don't cost me out in petrol.
And what's a good day's fishing then?
Good day for me. In 3 hours, I can probably have about 25 to 30 fish out, and they're all decent fish. They're all like this, sometimes even bigger.
So I'll leave Tony to liberate his catch back into the Don to ensure they live to fight another day. I'm at a secret location in South Yorkshire, and we've been given a tip-off about a badger set backing onto a whole array of gardens. Just behind me, the sun's setting, which means soon the badgers are emerging. We're going to have to get in position quick. This is a really good indication the wood's being regularly used by badgers. It's one of their tracks and obviously runs between feeding areas and their set. They're really creatures of habit, so this is definitely a good sign. These woods are surrounded by housing on all sides. Most of the people living here will have no idea who their nocturnal neighbours are. Oh, we're getting really close to the set now, so I'm going to have to do something I very rarely do. Whisper. Badger watching is not just about being patient and silent. You need to be lucky too. If the wind is in the wrong direction, they'll smell you and you've no chance. But tonight we're downwind of the set, so our scent doesn't carry, which is a good job as a badger's sense of smell is 800 times more sensitive than ours. Finally, after hours of waiting, the midge bites seem worth it as we're just 25 feet away when a badger emerges. It looks like a large male. I can't believe it. That's a big adult badger just come out. It's such a thrill to see such a large animal thriving in our towns and cities. And another treat. Mrs. Badger then emerges to have a look and a sniff. It may be there are cubs inside, but sadly we don't get to meet the whole family. Well, that's it from Sheffield, and I have to say, what a cast of wildlife characters. Now, Keely Donovan's been to another green oasis in the heart of urban Yorkshire, which hundreds of commuters pass right by every day, often without even as much as a second glance.
It's amazing just how much you can miss on your daily commute.
Even on a journey you've made every day for years, as you hurry to work, there might just be some natural wonders you've overlooked just a few paces away. And that's exactly why I've come to Shipley Station, just minutes from Bradford.
If it wasn't for the efforts of one woman, this small, unremarkable piece of land, about the size of a tennis court, wouldn't be here at all.
Artist and naturalist Susan Stead has spent the last 2 decades defending this meadow.
Hello, Susan.
Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you. You've chosen a beautiful day for it.
I have, yes.
Are you capturing the blues here?
I'm trying to.
The blue is the common blue butterfly that's anything but common in these parts. It's the meadow's star turn.
So, Susan, I've just arrived and I nearly missed it. How did you stumble across it?
On the Bradford Telegraph and Argus in 1988, and there was a small paragraph about blue butterflies in Shipley Station. Apparently somebody had been tidying up part of the station and pulling up yellowbird's foot trefoil, which the blues feed on. I then decided to come down here and investigate, and at that time this field here was part of a huge big meadow.
Eventually, British Rail was persuaded not to use what was left of the land for car parking, and Susan's successful campaign culminated in David Bellamy officially opening the Shipley Station Butterfly Meadow 20 years ago this summer.
This is Cock's Foot, actually, but they will feed...
The meadow is only open to the public on a few days every year because of the fragility of the habitat. More than 50 kinds of plants have been found here and 14 species of butterflies and moths. Because of the cold spring, only 3 had so far emerged, including the common blue and the meadow brown. Why is it so important to keep this meadow?
Because we shouldn't have to damage a wonderful wildlife area like this just for a car park. The common blue is actually one of the species which is very down in numbers throughout the UK, as a lot of species of butterfly are. And we need to actually conserve as many areas as we can for butterflies and plants, because we're actually losing a lot of our wildlife.
So this little oasis of meadowland remains here by chance, and the wildlife exists, hemmed in by tarmac and largely unnoticed by the station's busy travellers. As the light fades, I've come to York to see if I can find some creatures who prefer the night. Now, I don't normally spend my evenings in graveyards, but I'm told that this place really comes alive after dark. I'm about to go trapping with moth expert David Chesmore. So David, it's very bright here in the graveyard in the dead of night. What have you got set up here? What are you looking for?
It's an ultraviolet light which attracts the moths, so I've got one trap and one moth sheet here. They don't all come out at night. There's quite a lot of daytime flying moths.
So what's the difference between a moth and a butterfly?
There isn't really. The traditional differences are supposed to be that the butterfly rests with its wings up and a moth rests with its wings down. A butterfly has clubbed antennae and the moth has feathery antennae, but there are exceptions.
And it's not long before the light has brought in some flying visitors. This pretty little creature is called a swallowtail. I feel really guilty because I thought all moths were just brown and boring. It's just one of 1,800 varieties of moth that we have here in Yorkshire. Well, it's 11:30 at night and we must have caught or seen about 15 to 20 different varieties of moth, and that's just in the last hour. So we're going to give it the course of the night and then come back first thing in the morning to see what else we've got. As York wakes up and gets on the move, I'm on my way to see what's in the moth trap. The graveyard is a great natural habitat because it's remained untouched for nearly 200 years. Morning, David.
Good morning.
So, what have we got?
Well,
what have we caught? Despite the temperature dropping to a seasonally cool 10 degrees overnight, there are still some wonderful moths.
it's a burnished brass.
It's gripping to my hand with dear life.
It's warming itself up, getting ready to fly.
Just take a look at this guy. Absolutely beautiful. I think this is my favourite, the garden tiger. Now, it's quite docile because it's cool, but it is going to warm itself up on my hand before it takes flight.
It's been a very cold spring, so a lot of moths have been delayed a lot, so we haven't seen that many moths so far this year, although the numbers are building up.
But not all moths are welcome. This horse chestnut could be seriously damaged by them.
Each one of these blotches is a caterpillar living inside the leaf.
Actually in there?
Actually in the leaf, so these are very, very tiny moths.
Just about make them out in there. I can't, tiny little caterpillar
couple-
moving around. Does it destroy the tree?
Well, it doesn't destroy the tree, but it causes loss of chlorophyll because these little moths, called the horse chestnut leaf miner, that every successive generation, about 3 generations a year, will actually mine different parts of the leaf. And so the leaves go brown and they drop off early.
And can't take in sunlight then?
They can't take in sunlight now.
So, what have I found out about butterflies and moths? Well, butterflies like to fly during the day, although some of them don't. And moths, they prefer to fly at night, although actually some of them prefer to fly during the day. So I'm still a bit confused about that one.
But what I do know is they're beautiful, fascinating and diverse creatures that you can actually find in your own back garden. You just need to take time out to marvel at them.
Well, Mike's travelled from South to East Yorkshire now for our final look at the wildlife you might find in your urban area.
This is Princes Avenue, one of the main thoroughfares into and out of Hull. It's also just 2 minutes from an aquatic oasis teeming with life, which I'm really keen to see. But I've not come all the way here to see a man swimming in his garden pond. I'm here to catch up with these little fellas who share it with him.
The water's lovely, Mike. Are you coming in?
Bill Marsden spent tens of thousands of pounds building this swimming pond so he could share his daily dip with newts and other amphibians. So, Bill, come on, tell me how this crazy garden pond came about.
We had a little bit of money. We decided, what can we do that's different?
And you planted all these native plants around?
All the planting around the edges provide what is necessary to make the water sweet.
And it's effectively rainwater. The wildlife responded almost immediately?
Nothing has been introduced. When we first set up the pond, we filled it to check that there was no leaks. And we heard these plop, 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 plop from above. And it was beetles. They had seen the water. They were obviously flying up there, and they were all just diving in. It was quite amazing.
So lots of aquatic insects, but the real stars, of course, are the newts.
There are thousands of newts. In the breeding season, you just put in a net and you come up with as many as you like.
I think we should swim off and go and find a few.
Let's
what do you say?
it.
The water's quite clear, but even so, it's hard to get close enough for a really good look without frightening the newts away. So we put some in a tank to give you a closer look. These are smooth newts, and you can easily tell the males from the females because they're in their breeding finery there. The males are fabulous creatures. They've got a crest starting just behind the head and going all the way right down to the tip of the tail. The females are a bit more understated. And the male uses that crest and his tail to waft in front of the female, to beguile her, to get her all excited so they can mate. And the female, during the course of the breeding season, will probably lay up to 200 eggs. It's not like, for example, frogs, where they lay a mass of eggs together in frog spawn. The female will lay individual eggs. And of course, the most amazing thing is people think that newts spend their entire lives in the water, but it spends far more time on dry land. I have to say, this is just about the best wildlife garden pond I have ever seen. It's astonishing how much is in here. Well, Bill has had enough for one day, but he and his wife Eleanor can come back any time they choose. And I've got pond envy. Having dried off and warmed up, I'm next after some wildlife that flies rather than swims. But this little chap has had a few problems with his usual mode of transport. He's been rescued by the East Yorkshire Bat Group.
He's called Lazy Boy because he's a bit like me. He's a bit reluctant to go to the gym, and in his case, he's a bit reluctant to fly. A member of the public found him on a road in a village outside of Hull, and they rang up because if you see a bat during the daytime, they probably need your help.
Any chance we could have a look at his wing? Is that possible? Because they're just so beautiful.
There we go.
There we go, look at that.
Look how fine his wing actually is.
On the leading edge, that's his thumb,
Yep.
effectively, and the rest is fingers of a hand, and the skin is stretched between them.
That's right. He's got exactly the same sort of bones that we've got in our hand. It's just that his fingers are incredibly long.
Well, lovely though Lazy Boy is. I think we should go out and see some bats in the wild. What do you say?
Let's make a move.
Let's do it. Let's go batting. Joining us is a group of fellow bat spotters, and we're heading for a nearby park that's ideal for these wonderful flying mammals. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Got a feeding buzz there.
Yeah, just almost a feeding buzz.
Which species do you think these might be?
These are going to be common pipistrelles because their peak frequency is at 45 kilohertz.
And of course, these are very clever bits of kit, aren't they?
Amazing pieces of kit. Basically what they do is they turn the ultrasound that the bats are making during echolocation audible so that we can hear it.
There we go.
It's a bat phone.
So armed with our bat detectors, we can hear them, but we want to see them too. Whoa, straight past us. There we go.
Oh.
Oh, on right level water.
Whoa.
That was within a metre of my nose.
Very close.
They're just whizzing over our heads and straight past us. What did you get there, Joe?
Common pipistrelle, feeding buzz.
Explain a feeding buzz.
It's basically it sounds a bit like a raspberry. Somebody blowing a raspberry. And as they're coming in to feed, that's the noise that they make.
Every single road that surrounds the house around this park is stacked with houses, and they act as perfect roosts for the bats in the park.
So out there they've got the bed, and in here they've got the breakfast.
Absolutely.
Or
yeah.
evening meal.
Well, it's like if you've got a snack bar at the end of your street, why would you travel any further? And that's exactly what this park is providing for the bats in the avenues and the streets around here. Got a soprano.
Yeah, you have?
Yeah.
I've got 55 here.
Yeah, soprano's coming through.
We've changed the frequency of some of the bat detectors. We've actually got two different species. There's the pipistrelle calling at 45 kilohertz, and another species, the soprano pipistrelle, calling at 55 kilohertz. And it's called the soprano because it's high-pitched. Early the next morning, with the sun not long up, it's time for my final wildlife stakeout. And again, we're trying to catch a glimpse of another elusive creature. I've come to a drain which runs through a housing estate just a few miles from the centre of Hull. I'm on the trail of the Waterfall and have been told they inhabit the banks of this waterway. You know, I don't think in recent times I've seen a stretch of water with so much litter in. The water itself is really clean. The vegetation along the banks is fabulous habitat for lots of animals. It's a great wildlife spot, even though it looks unsightly. After a 4-hour wait, 3 of them in the pouring rain, finally we catch one on camera. Oh, yes, Waterfall! Just briefly swimming between one side of the drain and the other. You can see its head sticking up, then it dips down to its back, and then its bottom sticks out as well. And a V-shaped wake behind it. Oh, what a terrific spot. This is such an elusive mammal, really hard to catch up with. It just needs patience. And then 2 further glimpses. It's been worth the wait. The watervole as a species has declined drastically right across Britain by as much as possibly 95%. Now, the reasons for this are primarily due to loss of habitat and also pollution in the river systems. But the final nail in the coffin is the introduction of the American mink that's cleared whole water systems of their water voles. But the one area that they seem to be doing okay is urban areas like this. Mink really don't like people and dog walkers. So where there aren't mink, the water voles seem to be flourishing. Well, that's all for this programme. And if it's inspired you to get outside, you can find some top wildlife tips at bbc.co.uk/Summer of Wildlife. Happy nature spotting.